Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a topic that is absolutely critical for understanding the future of blockchain technology, sidechains. You've probably heard the term thrown around, especially in discussions about scaling, but what are they really? How do they work? And why should you care? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be a sidechain expert. So let's start with the basics. Imagine a major highway, like the Bitcoin or Ethereum mainnet. It's robust, it's secure, but during rush hour, it gets incredibly congested and expensive. Every car or transaction has to fight for space, driving up the toll fees or gas fees. This is the blockchain scalability problem. A sidechain is like building a parallel service road right next to this main highway. It's a separate, independent blockchain that's connected to the main chain through a special bridge. This service road can have its own rules, its own speed limits, and its own toll system, allowing traffic to move off the main highway, get things done faster and cheaper, and then merge back onto the main highway when needed. In more technical terms, a sidechain is an independent blockchain that runs in parallel to a main blockchain, which we often call the parent chain or mainnet. It's linked to the mainnet by a two-way peg. This peg is the magic that allows assets, like cryptocurrencies or tokens, to be transferred between the two chains. Think of it as a secure portal. You send your assets into the portal on the mainnet, and an equivalent amount appears on the sidechain. When you're done, you send them back through the portal and they reappear on the mainnet. So why go through all this trouble? The benefits are huge. First and foremost, scalability. By offloading transactions to a sidechain, we drastically reduce the congestion on the mainnet. This means faster transaction times and much, much lower fees. If you've ever been shocked by Ethereum gas fees during a bull run, you understand why this is a game changer. Sidechains can process thousands of transactions per second, compared to the handful that some mainnets can handle. The second major benefit is flexibility and experimentation. The mainnet of a major crypto like Bitcoin or Ethereum is like the constitution of a country. Changing it is a very slow and difficult process. It has to be to maintain security and stability. But a sidechain is like a sandbox. Developers can experiment with new features, different consensus mechanisms, or unique governance models without risking the security of the mainnet. They can build decentralized applications, or dApps, with functionalities that might be too expensive or complex for the mainnet. For example, a blockchain game might run on a sidechain to handle thousands of in-game actions without clogging up Ethereum. Let's talk about how this transfer of assets, the two-way peg, actually works. Essentially, when you want to move assets from the mainnet to the sidechain, you send your coins to a specific output address on the mainnet. These coins are then locked. They can't be spent by you or anyone else on the mainnet. Once the sidechain receives confirmation of this lock, it releases an equivalent number of tokens on its own chain to your address there. The process is reversed when you want to move back. You send the sidechain tokens to a special address on the sidechain, they get destroyed or burned, and this triggers the release of your original coins from the locked address on the mainnet. This ensures that the total supply of the asset remains constant across both chains, preventing any creation of new money out of thin air. Now, who manages this locking and unlocking process? This is where a key component comes in: the Federation. A federation is a group of trusted parties or functionaries that are responsible for managing the two-way peg. They watch for locking transactions on the mainnet and sign off on releasing the corresponding tokens on the sidechain, and vice versa. The security of this model depends on the honesty of the majority of these functionaries. If a majority of them were to collude, they could potentially steal the locked funds. This reliance on a group of intermediaries is one of the main criticisms of some sidechain models, as it introduces an element of centralization. However, there are ongoing efforts to create more decentralized, trustless pegging mechanisms, but they are technically very complex. So, let's look at some real-world examples to make this more concrete. One of the most famous examples of a sidechain is Polygon, formerly known as Matic Network. Polygon is a sidechain to Ethereum. It offers a suite of scaling solutions, with its proof-of-stake sidechain being the most popular. Developers can easily move their Ethereum dApps over to Polygon to take advantage of its high speed and low fees. Users can bridge their ETH and other Ethereum tokens over to the Polygon network and interact with dApps like Aave, SushiSwap, and countless others for a fraction of the cost. This has made DeFi and NFTs accessible to a much wider audience who were priced out of the Ethereum mainnet. Another interesting example is Rootstock, or RSK. RSK is a sidechain for Bitcoin. Its goal is to bring Ethereum-like smart contract functionality to the Bitcoin network. Bitcoin's own scripting language is intentionally limited for security reasons, which means it can't support complex dApps like those on Ethereum. RSK solves this by creating a sidechain that is merge-mined with Bitcoin. Merge mining is a clever process where miners can mine both Bitcoin and RSK simultaneously, using the same computational power. This allows RSK to leverage Bitcoin's immense security from its miners while providing a platform for smart contracts and dApps, all powered by a pegged version of Bitcoin called RBTC. So we have Polygon for Ethereum and RSK for Bitcoin. What about others? There's also the Liquid Network, which is another sidechain for Bitcoin, primarily focused on providing fast, confidential transactions for exchanges and traders. It's managed by a federation of cryptocurrency companies. Then you have Gnosis Chain, formerly XDAI, which is an Ethereum sidechain that uses a stablecoin, XDAI, as its native currency for transactions and fees, providing a very stable and predictable cost environment for users and developers. Now, it's important to understand that sidechains are not the only scaling solution out there. You might have heard of layer 2 solutions like rollups. What's the difference? This is a crucial distinction. While sidechains are independent blockchains with their own security mechanisms and consensus algorithms, layer 2 solutions derive their security directly from the mainnet, or layer 1. Let's break that down. A sidechain has its own set of validators or miners. If these validators decide to act maliciously, they could potentially halt the chain or approve fraudulent transactions. The security of the sidechain is separate from the security of the mainnet. Layer 2 solutions, on the other hand, like optimistic rollups or ZK rollups, bundle up transactions off-chain, but then post the transaction data back to the layer 1 mainnet. The mainnet is the ultimate arbiter of truth. This means a layer 2 solution inherits the full security and decentralization of the mainnet it's built on. So, in a nutshell, the key difference is security. Sidechains offer more flexibility but have their own security assumptions. Layer 2s offer less flexibility in their design, but inherit the robust security of the mainnet. You can think of it as a trade-off. Sidechains are like sovereign states allied with a superpower, while Layer 2s are like states within a federal system, ultimately subject to the superpower's laws. So, which one is better? It's not a simple answer of one being better than the other. It really depends on the specific use case. For an application that requires extreme customization and is willing to manage its own security, or where the value of assets at stake is not astronomically high, a sidechain can be a perfect solution. It offers a dedicated environment that can be tailored to the app's needs. For example, a high-throughput social media DApp or a complex blockchain game might thrive on a sidechain. On the other hand, for high-value financial applications where security is absolutely paramount, a Layer 2 rollup might be the preferred choice. When you're dealing with billions of dollars in a decentralized exchange or lending protocol, you want the unparalleled security that comes from being anchored directly to the Ethereum mainnet. The future is likely multi-chain and multi-layer. We will see a world where sidechains, Layer 2s, and even entirely separate Layer 1 blockchains all coexist, each serving different purposes and connected by interoperability bridges. The user might not even know whether they're on a sidechain or a rollup. They'll just experience a fast, cheap, and seamless application. Let's discuss the challenges and risks associated with sidechains, because no technology is without its drawbacks. As we mentioned, the primary risk is security. The security of a sidechain is only as strong as its own consensus mechanism and its validator set. A smaller, less decentralized set of validators can be more susceptible to attacks or collusion. A 51% attack on a sidechain is a real possibility if a single entity gains control of the majority of its hashing power or stake. Another major point of failure is the bridge, the two-way peg itself. The bridge is the honeypot. It holds all the locked assets from the mainnet. This makes it a very attractive target for hackers. We've seen numerous high-profile bridge hacks over the years, resulting in hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars in stolen funds. Securing these bridges is one of the most significant engineering challenges in the entire crypto space. A hack on the bridge doesn't just affect the sidechain, it can have catastrophic consequences for the entire ecosystem built on top of it, and it can depeg the assets, making the sidechain versions worthless. Then there's the issue of complexity. Managing assets across multiple chains can be confusing for users. You have to deal with different wallets, different block explorers, and the process of bridging itself can be intimidating for newcomers. Poor user experience is a major hurdle to adoption. If it's too difficult for the average person to move their funds to a sidechain and use the dApps there, they simply won't do it. Thankfully, a lot of work is being done to abstract away this complexity and create a more unified user experience, but we're not quite there yet. Finally, there's the potential for asset fragmentation. When you have dozens of different sidechains and Layer 2s, liquidity gets split across all these different environments. A decentralized exchange on Ethereum might have deep liquidity, but the same exchange deployed on 5 different sidechains might have very shallow liquidity on each, leading to worse prices for traders. This is a problem that interoperability protocols are trying to solve by allowing seamless communication and asset transfer between all these different chains. Despite these challenges, the development in the sidechain space is incredibly exciting. We're seeing the emergence of what's called app chains, or application-specific blockchains. Instead of building a dApp on a general-purpose sidechain like Polygon, developers are starting to launch their own dedicated sidechains for their single application. Projects like the Cosmos SDK and Polygon Edge make it easier than ever for a development team to spin up their own sovereign, customizable blockchain. Why would they do this? Control. By having their own app chain, a project can customize every single aspect of the blockchain to optimize it for their specific application. They can control the fee structure, even making transactions free for users by subsidizing the cost. They can design the governance, and they capture all of the value generated by the application, like transaction fees, for their own ecosystem and token holders, rather than paying it to the validators of a general-purpose chain. A great example of this is the DYDX exchange, a major perpetuals trading platform that moved from being a layer 2 on Ethereum to launching its own sovereign blockchain built on the Cosmos SDK. They did this to achieve the massive throughput and customizability they needed to compete with centralized exchanges. This trend of app chains represents a major shift in how we think about blockchain architecture. The future might not just be a few dominant layer 1s with their own ecosystems, but a vast internet of blockchains, a network of thousands of interconnected sovereign app chains, each optimized for a specific purpose, all communicating with each other. This is the vision that projects like Cosmos and Polkadot are building towards, and sidechain technology is a fundamental building block for that vision. So let's bring it all together. Sidechains are separate blockchains connected to a mainnet via a two-way peg. They are a powerful solution to the scalability problem, offering high throughput and low fees by offloading activity from the congested mainnet. They also provide a flexible environment for innovation and experimentation, allowing developers to build things that wouldn't be possible on a more rigid parent chain. We've seen real-world examples like Polygon, which supercharges Ethereum, and RSK, which brings smart contracts to Bitcoin. We've also clarified the key difference between sidechains and layer 2 solutions, like rollups, their security model. Sidechains have independent security, while layer 2s inherit the security of the mainnet. This presents a trade-off between flexibility and security. We've acknowledged the risks, namely the security of the sidechain's own consensus, the massive challenge of securing the bridge, and the complexity for users. But we've also looked ahead to the exciting future of app chains and the concept of an internet of blockchains, where sidechain technology allows for a universe of specialized, interconnected chains. Understanding sidechains is no longer just for developers. As a user, an investor, or just someone curious about the future of technology, knowing how we plan to scale blockchains to handle global demand is crucial. Sidechains are a vital piece of that puzzle. They are the service roads, the sandboxes, and the sovereign states that will help the blockchain ecosystem grow from a niche technology into the foundation for the next generation of the internet. I hope this deep dive has been helpful and has demystified the world of sidechains for you. It's a complex topic, but it's central to where this entire space is headed. If you found this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you have any questions or want to suggest a topic for a future video, drop a comment down below. I read all of them. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the fascinating world of crypto. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.